Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Listen, if you're an educator, you are absolutely going to love this deep dive. Today, we're unpacking something called the KWL active teaching method. Now, if you've ever found yourself standing at the front of the room, struggling to capture your students' attention at the start of a lesson, or maybe you felt like the information just completely vanished into thin air the second that bell rang, well, this explainer is exactly what you need. This method is a ridiculously powerful, structured way to boost classroom engagement from the opening bell all the way to the very end of class. It literally transforms passive, zoned-out listeners into active participants who actually take ownership of their own learning journey.
So here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start by breaking down the KWL method itself. Then we'll look at the before learning phase, followed by the after learning phase. After that, we'll walk through a real-world example using Anchor Watt and wrap up by troubleshooting a few common KWL hurdles. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the KWL teaching method and activating your classroom. What's really cool about this methodology is how simply it breaks down. It's just 3 distinct, highly effective phases. K stands for know. Basically, what does the student already know about the topic? It's a fantastic way to dig up old knowledge and pull it right to the front of their minds. Then we have W, which is want to know. This is all about building curiosity. It asks a student, hey, what are you actually hoping to find out today? And finally, L stands for learned. This is that crucial reflection stage at the very end of the lesson, where they document exactly what they picked up. So it's essentially a complete cycle of learning. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a learning journey, all captured right there on a single page.
Moving on to Section 2, let's talk about the before learning phase, activating what students know and what they want to know.
The real beauty of this framework is just how flexible it is. These opening steps, you can do them individually, in pairs, or in small groups, whatever works for your room. So, step 1, you have them fill out the K section of their chart with anything, literally anything they already know about the day's topic. Then, step 2, they share that knowledge, maybe with a partner or out loud with the whole class. And let me tell you, this instantly activates the room. You can almost hear their brains warming up. Once that energy is flowing, you move to step 3. They fill out the W chart, jotting down specific questions they want answers to. You've essentially just tricked them into setting their own learning goals, and that transforms them into super active listeners for the rest of the lesson.
Okay, fast forward past your main lesson to Section 3, after learning, or what we learned. So throughout your lesson, your students have been actively hunting for the answers to those W questions they wrote down. Now, you absolutely cannot just let the bell ring and let everyone rush out the door. You have to bring them back to the chart to fill in the L, what they actually learned. Sharing this out loud is absolutely crucial because it solidifies the day's learning. They are physically writing down the answers to the questions they ask themselves at the beginning of the hour. It gives them this immediate sense of accomplishment, and it perfectly closes that cognitive loop.
Let's make this concrete. Section 4, a real classroom example featuring Anchor Watt. Imagine how this timeline plays out in a history class. At the beginning of the hour, under K, a student writes down what they already know. Maybe they know Angkor Wat is in Siem Reap and it was built by King Suryavarman II. Great. Then, moving to W, they brainstorm questions. How many years did it actually take to build? Or where in the world did they get all those massive stones? Now, during your lesson, they aren't just sitting there passively absorbing a lecture. They are learning with purpose. They're actively hunting for those specific answers. And finally, at the end of the hour, under L, they write down the exact answers they got from you. It's literally tracking their intellectual growth in real time. Of course, teaching is never perfect, right? So let's hit Section 5, solving common KWL hurdles. Okay, here is a very, very common challenge. You introduce a brand new topic, you ask them to fill out the W section on what they want to know, and crickets, just blank stares, because they have absolutely no base knowledge to form questions from. I mean, you can't ask a question about something you've never heard of, right? They just don't know what they don't know.
The best way to overcome this little roadblock is to provide a bit of scaffolding. As our source material points out, the perfect solution here is visual aids, or specific keywords. If you're teaching a complex historical event they've never heard of, throw a really provocative photograph up on the screen, or write 3 compelling keywords on the whiteboard. Trust me, that is usually more than enough of a spark to jumpstart their curiosity and get those want-to-know questions flowing naturally.
Now for the second massive hurdle, and this one is totally on us as educators. What happens when we simply run out of time? We've all been there. It is incredibly easy to get caught up in an awesome discussion or a fun activity and completely accidentally skip that vital learned reflection phase before the bell rings. Here's the hard truth. If you skip the L phase, the whole KWL framework kind of falls apart. You have to be proactive with your pacing. The definitive solution is to strictly reserve the final 5 to 10 minutes of your class and dedicate it entirely to the L phase. Set an alarm on your phone if you have to, put a timer up on the board, whatever it takes, treat those last 5 to 10 minutes as sacred reflection time so your students can actually synthesize the day's information.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. The KWL method, it's not just about filling in boxes on a worksheet. It is a total shift in classroom dynamics. So I want you to ask yourself, how much of your class time right now is lost to passive listening? And how quickly could a simple 3-column chart completely change that? Try it out next week and watch your students' engagement absolutely soar. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you next time.